Hey, David McGuffin here. Welcome to Travel Talk Tuesday for October 26, 2021. Boy, I am finally back home in my kitchen in my home in Middleburg, Florida, and really liking it. I spent the last 6 weeks all over Italy, destinations that I've been to many, many times, and some new destinations as well. I know that some of you have probably been following me the last few weeks, and it all began, around the first weekend or so of September when we were at a travel show in Dallas, and I flew over to Rome shortly after that on the following Monday, and have been going strong ever since. We had some really good tours. We had our villa tour, which was one night in Florence, 7 nights in Volterra, Italy, in the middle of Tuscany at a little agriturismo villa, and 1 night in Florence again. So we had that. That was a perfect time. And then I did my the Best of Italy tour, beginning in Rome, and for 2 weeks, heading all the way up and ending in Milan. So before we get to tonight's topic, which is about southern Italy and around the Bay of Naples, I wanted to share a little bit about how I made things possible and how we were able to jump through all the hoops about traveling, and also about having documentation as being COVID-free and all of that. So the first thing, and I think I referred to this even before we left in September, is I purchased these kits, a set of 6 kits, but you can buy 2. They're about $25 each from emeds.com, EMEDS.com. And they worked great. When I left the United States, there's an app here that I signed on to. I did all this on my phone. I signed on to the app. A live person came on, told me how to open this kit up, how to take the test card out, how to put the vial of drops into the test card, how to, and then they watched me for 15 minutes as the card turned to one solid pink line, meaning I was COVID-free. I think we've also in the past, especially for going to Greece, we bought these things right out of the drugstore as well. It's the exact same kit. This just comes with an online telemed official documentation of it. So that worked great. And then when I came home last week, I did the same thing from my hotel in Rome the day before I left. So if you're going to travel, you're going to have to do that because the United States requires us to have that to come home. And most European countries also require us to have prove that we are COVID-free before we arrive there. That's a great way to do it. If you don't do that, we had no difficulty anywhere in Italy just going to a pharmacy and walking in, and it may have taken an hour to do it, but to get a COVID test as well. So all the folks that were traveling with me had a variety of ways to do it, but there was a good number of them that, for example, in Milan, we went to the pharmacy at the train station. We could sign up online ahead of time, get an appointment. They walked in, got their test, and the results in 15 or 20 minutes. So it just, they're making it pretty simple to do that. For me, I think it's even more simple than trying to schedule an appointment at Walgreens or CVS or something like that, which I have also done earlier in the COVID times as well. The other thing that you've got to have, of course, you got to have a passport. Look at here. This is crazy. My passport only has 1 sticker on it, meaning I've left Europe 1 time. But I had to go to Dallas and get a brand new passport. I shared that with you, I think, back in the first part of September. But I got a brand new passport, everything squared away. But this is how I traveled. I had this passport in my money belt, and I had a copy of my CDC card here, because every time I wanted to go inside, whether it would be a museum or a restaurant, I had to show identification, and I had to show they call it a green pass, and which basically is for us Americans from the United States, is our CDC vaccination card. So you cannot have a great travel, actually, you cannot have a good travel experience at all in Europe unless you're fully vaccinated. And I know that's a point of contention with a lot of people in the United States. Some people are anti-vax or whatever, but you just cannot travel to Europe and avoid quarantine unless you are fully vaccinated. And so I think myself, with my tours to Europe, you're just going to be fully vaccinated because you're not going to enjoy the trip at all. You can't go inside. You may be quarantined when you arrive there. And so until further notice, if you're traveling on an Exploring Europe trip with me, with it, David McGuffin's Exploring Europe, you're going to have to be fully vaccinated and have proof of it. There's no such thing at this point. No one's asking for anything about a booster or anything like that. And I looked this afternoon for the official CDC guidelines and everything else, and they're not requiring a booster anywhere in the United States as well in order to be classified as fully vaccinated. So the COVID test and your passport and your green pass, your CDC card, are imperative to travel. I can just tell you that. Okay, so let me bounce back to what we're doing tonight. Tonight we're talking about a very small little island, 1.6 square miles in the Bay of Naples. And you'll hear me say it about 20 different ways because it's spelled Procida. And now I'm pronouncing it Procida, but I've also said Procida. And it depends on where you are, because if we're down in the Bay of Naples and you listen to the captains of the boat saying you're approaching this island, they're going to be a very, very hard SCH sound. So but pro is the first part of the syllable and the emphasis, Procida or Procida. And so we're down there in this island, and that's what I'm talking about tonight because it's a brand new place for me. I've been traveling to Europe for, gosh, over 30 years now, gosh, almost 40 years now, and never have been to this little island. And I tell you what, it is wonderful. So let me get back and share my screen, and we'll go on with the matter at hand on looking at the island of Procida. Okay. I think I'm sharing it here, and you see Naples, and in this area, this is a whole map of Italy. And down here, you see Rome, and down here, beyond that, 90 minutes on the train or less is Naples, a huge city, the third largest city in the country. And so we took a train to the city of Naples. We took a private van to the port, which is about 20 minutes. We took a boat to the island of Ischia, which I'll talk to you about in another week or two. And then we did a day trip all day long from 9 to 4 to this island of Procida. And just so you kind of see where this is. Let me let this run. And I think I come on and give you a little introduction from the port. That's the island of Procida. To me, it looks like, I'm just going to say, you know, I'm always one of those people who look at clouds and see animals. To me, it looks like, sort of like a bull jumping up in the air. You're going to have a stretch here. There's his head looking at us. One of his front legs, another front leg, back leg, his tail, and then I don't know what's hanging off of it, a dillberry or something, who knows? Okay. Anyway, that's Procida, and the port is up here on the north side of the island. Hey, good morning. David McGuffin here from the island of Procida. And we're here looking around for about 6 hours today, checking out this new destination. New for me and maybe new for our tours that we're trying to get going for 2022. Visiting, I'm calling it the Amalfi Coast and the Islands tour. So visiting this island of Procida. So I hope you enjoy this look around today of the island Procida. This is the harbor front. You can see there's people dressed for all types of weather. These guys maybe just came off a boat. Here we go. Some bike riders who don't know what they're doing. These are, I've never seen them before until this year, or maybe because we hadn't traveled in a couple of years, but they're electric powered bikes. And so as you pedal, it must recharge a battery in the back. And I think these folks just rented them right around the corner and had no clue how to stop them. And but we encountered these in all of the towns we were in, and it looked like a whole lot of fun to get on and ride. My friends Byron and Laura down here. So a little bit of everything. And you can see pastel villages right here on the seafront. Obviously, this is the motorized part of town. I think the further uphill we go and beyond these signs that say pedestrian only, the more remote and rural it becomes as far as traffic on the island. So this is a pedestrian street, and so my first experience here was that huge street right along the harbor and the port. Our boat just kind of backed up there and we all got off the boat. And so my first impression was that gosh, there's a whole lot of cars on this small little island. But I came to find out that they were just limited right there to that one little street and a couple other streets on the island. The rest of the place were mostly scooters, small little lanes, and lanes like this going up through those town centers. There's about 6 little towns on the island, or little communities on the island. And as you can see, it looks, if you've been to any of the villages in the Cinque Terre, or even in Venice, these pastel buildings, old stone buildings and everything are very similar to what you would see visiting those cities as well. So this is looking up the hill into that little tiny village. By the way, that gelato shop on the left was pretty good too. So we decided to rent scooters because we looked at the map and it's going to take us 45 minutes to walk to our first destination. And we'd never been there before. So those are my friends Byron and Laura. Here's a map of the island, and the port's up here at the top. So we hopped on the scooters and we just drove. We kind of looked on Google's maps and then drove, because there weren't a whole lot of different roads. And we ended up on the other side of the island at this beach and this little town. Hey, we're on the southeastern side of the island of Procida, and this is Punto Vivara. And so we're going to go across this little bridge down here, it's a pedestrian bridge, and to the natural reserve of this little island beyond here. This is the beach and the town of Corricella. So the Spiaggia is the beach. It's kind of a black sand beach. There, similar to all volcanic areas, but a cute little town. We just had some scooters we rented and drove through the town, and we're parked up the hill here and walking over to this natural reserve across this bridge. You know, it's a lot different scouting out a new area because you don't know the correct way to pronounce these Italian words, where the accents go on what syllable, and so hey, I'm doing the best I can, but I'm doing pretty good just to get the name of this island. Procida or Procida. This is a beautiful place. We walked to the end of the bridge thinking we could go into the wildlife preserve, but it was there was a fence. We couldn't go any farther. But it was a great little vista and a small little hike for us, about a 45-minute hike back and forth. So that was over here beyond the David McGuffin logo. And so the port that we started at was way up here at the top. We made our way down through here to that beach. Here we stopped to that island, which is out here. And then we took off and we were in search of a viewpoint, which I had found on a lot of photos on the internet. And so, gosh, we just took off, drove up the street, and we happened to get to it. It was the Belvedere Elsa. Hey, so I've reached one of the quintessential views here on the island of Procida, looking across the city at Corricella, and I'm on this site called the Belvedere de Elsa Morante. Belvedere de Elsa Morante. And this beautiful town behind me is, I think, what people come to this island to look at. And I believe behind that, up on the hilltop, is an old fortress that's a former prison as well. I'll have to do my research on that. So I did my research on it, and that prison, I've got it here, was actually a fortress built in 1563 by the owners of this island, who were from what we now know as Sicily, in the region of Agrigento. And that fortress was called the Cardinal of Aragon, who built that. Later, that thing became, that fortress was taken over by the Spanish and the Bourbon kings, and it was made into a palace, and that was in the 1700s. And then following that, in the 1800s, it became a military school and then a penitentiary for the Bourbons, the Spanish Bourbons, who were ruling Naples at the time. And by the 1970s and 1980s, it was refurbished a bit and made into a fortified prison for the mafioso. And there was about 120 to 180 different prisoners there that were housed from 1970 to 1988 in small little rooms and cells. You can imagine that prison right there. It's 2 stories high that you can see, but there's also 2 stories under the ground that contain cells as well. And so these prisoners had the grandest view of the Bay of Naples, but they couldn't get beyond the barred windows. Very similar to the prison there in Venice, with that the Bridge of Sighs crosses over as well. And so it's just makes for a great promontory. And all of the islands down there have these fortresses built on top of the highest points. We've been getting around the island on these one-speed scooters, renting them here for inexpensive €30 for the full day. And so we just got to fill it up with gas. That's Byron and Laura looking out here. I've never rented a scooter, but I'm a big proponent of it now. And away they go. We could not have seen this island without these scooters. One more pan over here. They gave us this beautiful little hairnet to put on so the cooties from the helmet don't get in your hair. Really inviting, yes. This is a little bit better. I want to show you up here. The old walkway up to the church and the monastery here behind me. Now I'm really taking my life. Okay, away we go. That's a real street. I'm saying not many cars. So from that point, we thought we were going to this village that I was just pointing out to you. And we ended up back at the exact same place we started from, the harbor. I don't know. It was very difficult to navigate because there are all these little small winding lanes. And we just took the largest ones. The largest one brought us right back to the harbor. And we knew that's not where we wanted to go. So we turned around and we struck off again, going on the route we knew to get back to, we were then trying to find somewhere for lunch because restaurants in those small little towns, after about 2:30 or so, they close up from 2:30, 3 o'clock until they open for dinner at 7:30 or so. And so we know we were getting during that time, and we had to get something to eat. So we took off and drove all the way back to that island, the first destination we went to, way down here on the southwest coast. And so we sat down, and the restaurant was packed, and I got a spaghetti al vongole. You can see some very good looking bruschetta right there. Gosh, those tomatoes are fantastic all over the Bay of Naples. This is the name of the restaurant. And this is it. We stopped here the first time earlier in the morning, about 10:30, 11 o'clock, before we walked to that bridge that I showed you. And we stopped here and we just got a snack. We didn't get a snack, we got a drink. Said, well, surely we can find somewhere else later. But lo and behold, we drove across the island and ended up back here. And every table was full, and there was only 2 people working there. Maybe there was someone cooking in the kitchen, I suppose, but there was only 2 other people working there. And so we ended up having a very fast 2-hour lunch. But it was great. And the food, the ambiance, the harbor was just right there in front of us as well. So speaking of food, I've been eating a whole lot of sausage and cheese in Italy. So this is, it's kind of mutilated a little bit, but this is some sausage I got from the Publix, not near as good as what I've been having. I got some pecorino cheese, sheep milk cheese, and some French brie as well. So that's my appetizer, along with some Chianti Classico wine. And I think next coming up, my recipe for the evening. Hey, David McGuffin here. I am back home in my kitchen in Middleburg, Florida. And so I thought I would do a little cooking that's maybe something that replicates some of the food you might find on the seaside in Italy. So tonight's Travel Talk Tuesday is about the little small island of Procida. And so I'm going to cook some pasta, spaghetti, shrimp, asparagus, and a little bit of lobster that I had in the freezer. So the ingredients are simple. Shrimp, I got a little piece of a lobster that I had in the freezer. I've got a couple of cloves of garlic. Here we go, some asparagus. We have Italian parsley, and then of course just spaghetti. Spaghetti number 5, Barilla, is what I usually go for. So I want to combine those ingredients together and see if I can make up a meal tonight. I'll add a little olive oil and maybe a little tad of butter. We'll see how it all goes. Okay, so very quickly, I've kind of minced the garlic a bit, so I just chop it with a knife, and then I take the flat edge of a knife and hit it, and that's as minced as it gets. I've chopped some parsley, I've taken my asparagus, and my asparagus is going to be the first thing that goes in the pan. And then I chopped up my lobster in some cubes, and the shrimp is here. And then over here, I've got some water boiling for the pasta, and I've got a pan heating up here that I'm going to throw the asparagus in. So this is totally a brand new experiment, but we're going to make it work right now. So a little garlic in there as soon as the oil heats up, and then the asparagus. That's the first 2 elements that are going to go in. Okay, the garlic goes into the oil just for a few minutes. Then I'm going to go ahead and throw in the asparagus. The garlic's going to come out in about, I can smell it right now, getting ready to go. The garlic's going to come out because I'm going to use it later on, but all I wanted to do right now is flavor the oil. I'm going to take it off the heat and remove the garlic. Okay, salt and pepper is in there, and to help the process along, I'm going to cover it, add a little steam to soften up the asparagus. I've got my water from my pasta going right here. As soon as my asparagus is soft enough, I'm going to put the pasta in, and then all of the other seafood elements are going to come together very quickly. I've salted this water with sea salt. Actually, someone gave me some. I think my friend Donna gave me some sea salt from the Hebrides Islands off of Scotland. I've seasoned that water with that, and the pasta's in there. It's 10 minutes al dente, and then it's going to go over here to manifattura, and we'll have everything come together at the same time. Okay, asparagus is good to go. Shrimp is the next ingredient. Sorry, one man show with the camera. I need to hire a photographer to come over here on my cooking session. A little bit of lobster I have in. Let me pause here and wash my hands. Anybody want to do it? You can have a free meal. Shrimp and lobster in the pan with the asparagus. Next ingredient is a little bit of parsley, white wine. Any white wine will do. This is cheap wine from California. That's about maybe a half a cup of white wine. You can see it really does wonders to that. Let it cook down. This is going to simmer here. I may even put the top back on for 3-4 minutes. You can see the asparagus, shrimp, wine, salt and pepper, garlic, and parsley, and lobster is all coming together very well. I'm going to put a few pats of butter in here, just to make it nice and velvety. Mix that in there, and then that'll make it nice and velvety. I'm gonna let it come to another boil here. Velvety, I use that a lot, I guess. As soon as my pasta is ready to go, it goes in the pan. Everything comes together in the matter of minutes. Let me see if I can do this. Usually it's about 10 minutes on the pasta, but I just pull out a string or 2 of it. Let it cool a second. Taste it. It needs a little bit more. It's a bit more than al dente to the tooth. It's a bit chewy. I'm gonna let it cook for another 2 or 3 minutes. I think it'll be perfect. You can see how See how all of this is coming together, especially since I put the butter in, everything becomes much more velvety. The heat's down on medium, on low now. Final step's pasta. The rest of the garlic, which I'm gonna go ahead and put in right now. That was the garlic I put in earlier. The rest of it's going in here. Okay, pasta goes right from, even the water's good, right from the pasta pot to the pan. Having a little bit of that sea salt water is fantastic. Adds a lot more flavor. This parsley. But it has come together wonderfully. So there you have it. Spaghetti al dente, a little shrimp, and lobster, asparagus, garlic, white wine, a little butter, all comes together. That should be, I can smell it. Boy, I wish you could too. I'm going over here to my table and try it out. Okay, so now back to Procida. So we finally made it to the little harbor. Hey, I'm on my scooter here, and we finally arrived at this spot we're looking for. Don't really know where we are, but I think the only way to see Procida is to rent a scooter. 30 euro a day, 30 to 55 euro a day. It's the way to go. Let's go check out the view here. This guy's not a prop. He's a real fisherman mending his nets, waiting to go out to fish in the evening. There's a fortress up there. You can see in the background. So we finally made it down here to the fishing village of Corricella. And we've got this fortress behind us, which was a prison back in the, early 20th century. And so we're at the end of our day. We've kind of exhausted everything because it took us, 4 hours to finally get down here and see what's going on. Although we did shoehorn in a 2-hour lunch as well, because nothing happens fast when you're in Italy. That's for sure. But look at that village. That is just a fantastic little view. We took our scooters back to the harbor. Okay, we did. We really have reached the quintessential view from the island of Procida, sorry, the island of Procida. And this is the little harbor Corricella. And you can see a fortress up top. I'm here, the western sun setting in the background is in my eyes, and it's illuminating these pastel villages. Hey, listen, from Procida, your adventure starts right here with David McGuffin's Exploring Europe. You got to come here with me on my Amalfi and Islands tours beginning in 2022. I hope you'll join us. Hey, take care. Ciao from Procida. So this is our boat from Procida back to the island of Ischia. It's about 25 minutes back there. So I just got a couple little flashes here. We've got 2 seats on both of our Christmas market tours available. We'd love to have you travel with us if you've never done that or if you've done it before. Number 5 and 12, beginning and ending in Munich. Number 12 and 16, beginning and ending in Budapest. Flights are cheap. If you got a vaccine, we'd love to have you travel with us. We have verified with all of the destinations this week that the markets are on 100% positive to go. So it's a great time to travel. And then, our tours for 2022. we're getting signups daily. I think people are just sick and tired of staying at home, and they're ready to get out and to travel. And so if you're interested in any of those, we are not adding tours daily, we're subtracting tours because people are signing up and they're filling up. So we'd love to have you join us. Very popular destinations are Ireland, Italy. This tour right here that includes the island of Ischia and Procida, but also our Best of Italy tour. So we'd love to have you guys join us if you're interested, and pass the word along to others as well. The villa tours, Italy, are very, very popular. And so we'd love to have you guys join us. And so next week, I'm talking about the island of Ischia, the larger island nearby in the Bay of Naples. And we were able to spend 4 nights there at the spas and hot springs because the entire island is loaded with those. So that's what we're doing next week on Travel Talk Tuesday. I think we're about to wrap it all up here. So I appreciate all of you tuning in by way of Facebook and by way of Zoom. And also for you guys who are watching it later on, thanks for watching. That wraps it up. Thanks for watching Travel Talk Tuesday. We'll see you next week. Ciao.